לכל הצדיקים והאמיתים שלך נפח. קדוש השם בארצם, אביך רבנו הקדוש צדיק יסוד עולם. נחל נובע מכוח חוכמה רבנו אנחנו נתגה. בן שמחה נח נחמן אנחנו נאמן זכותו תגן עלינו ועל כל ישראל אמן. Baruch Hashem, 7th of Elul today. We continue in Torah Samech. We're still in section 4. We're about to get to the end of the section, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And we're talking about how the Yira is divided into the three aspects of business we talked about. And how Rabeinu connected that. How a person has to draw their fear into the three aspects of business, which is a third in his business dealings, a third in the ground, which is a reference to essentially what Rabeinu is going to say is his wife, and a third in his hand, which is how you say it essentially, which is tzedakah, what we're going to talk about, that we talked about. Mm-hmm. So we talked about all these three inyanim, how yir'ah is associated with all this time, and how ashirut is only mentioned 3 times in the Torah. 3 times this concept of ashirut, wealth, the word ashir. The word ashirut is only mentioned 3 times, once by Sidon, which is Melech Sidon, that Avraham told Melech Sidon that I don't want to take a single ounce from you, so that people don't say that I received my wealth from you, meaning a holy wealth. Mm-hmm. Second thing is by Rachel and Leah, that they told Yaakov that all the money is going to be for us and the kids. Hilanu ulvanenu, which is the idea that you have to karka olam. We know that the woman is karka olam, she's the ground of the world, which is essentially the bechina of malchut, which is where the money should go. If not for the man, that Yaakov needs to use his money only for Idbonenut. Aside from the money that he uses for Idbonenut, the rest is for thing. Which is why Rabeinu, when he went to Eretz Yisrael, his wife and his children started crying. Because Rabeinu didn't have money. He said in Likutei Moharan, he said, it's funny how all the tzaddikim have tremendous amounts of money and I really have nothing. Like a lot of the tzaddikim had real estate, they had this, that. He had nothing whatsoever. But Rabeinu said, my only consolation is that in the world to come, all the tzaddikim will need me for my chidushim. For what am I? I'm only that which my neshama, the chidushim which my soul reveals. So he started speaking about this idea, and when his wife and his kids started crying to him about the fact that he was leaving for Eretz Yisrael, this was around the age of 25, they started crying because they didn't have anything. And Rabeinu himself was already struggling. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't care. It wasn't about him. But he received the money with emunah, and he gave to his wife, and they didn't have much. But they were all, you know what I mean? They're all content. But now that Rabeinu was leaving, how would he be supported? So he said to everyone, essentially, that I cannot let this block me. I still have to go because there are things that I cannot do until I get there. Meaning there's madregot I cannot attain until I get to Eretz Yisrael, which is b'china v'idbonenut. And that money has to be used for the Idbonenut. Rabeinu said, if you have any mercy on me, you'll use, he told the students, you'll use your money to give my family and myself tzedakah for the journey. But Rabeinu, I think, didn't even accept, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Rabeinu even accepted tzedakah for his journey. I think every single aspect of the way he received, like he got his money in some way, some fashion. If I'm not mistaken, to Rabeinu, the Baal Shem Tov, I forget. But regardless, Rabeinu said, if you guys will have mercy, you will give my wife something. And Rabeinu said, if not, then you guys will have to go, like, make ends meet. Mm-hmm. You will have to work in the kitchen. He told the daughters, you're going to have to, like, go, you know what I mean, do stuff to earn the living. Because he said, the proof he brought down, he said that the majority always follows the minority. The minority always follows the majority. And he said the majority of meat is already in Eretz Yisrael. So the rest has to follow. So the Bechina, we don't understand how the soul is already there. Rabeinu said, every single step I'm taking, I'm on my derech to Eretz Yisrael. I'm already on the way. Rabeinu could have been traveling to this part of Ukraine, Medjugorje, Zlatipali, wherever it could have been, Galit, wherever it could have been. But Rabeinu said, every single step I take, I'm going to Eretz Yisrael. That's a very famous quote Rabeinu said, which a lot of people use and stuff like that. That every single place I'm going, I'm in Eretz Yisrael, my machshava is there. So, big chizuk for us to the greatness of Eretz Yisrael. Yeah. But Rabeinu didn't use the money for anything else except for Idbonenut, for him, because he had nothing. It was only for the wife and the kids. So that's the second example with Rachel and Leah. The third example is the third in business, which is what? The wealth that is mentioned by Sidon again. It says, Hanishkachim mini. because they had tremendous amounts of money over there, and they wanted to forget and to nullify. They wanted to essentially to push away all those people that used to travel through their country, so as not to give them help to travel through. So people used to travel through different countries, and obviously the country that was, or the place that was seeing these passerbys would help them along their way. Sodom wanted to completely nullify that, not let anyone in, not give anyone tzedakah money for their trip. Which is the bechina of regel, feet. I think we didn't even do this yet.
No.
Right? So you want to translate it?
Yeah. So the neshachatim mini rega.
I think so. Did I mistaken? Wait a second. Okay, wait a second. Let me see something. No. It's a shkalim. Oh, the third thing is the shkalim. That we said that the wealthy man should not give more. That everyone has to give machatzit shekel. So it's taka.
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about. So those were the three. Now Rabeinu is going to explain. So now when he's going to talk about the inyan of business, Rabeinu is going to explain that the ashirut that is mentioned in the Torah. Now Rabeinu is going to explain how the 3 times that ashirut is mentioned is going to reference the 3 types of ashirut that we talk about in the Gemara. Mm-hmm. How a person should divide his money into 3. So now this is going to be a new section on continuation, which is why we stopped in this place. Okay. So let's go.
So where we starting from?
Kishlish shebifrakmata. You see that?
Yeah. Kishlish shebifrakta maya hu k'neged ha'ashirut sheniskar eitzostom ki b'stom kativ hanishchakakim mini ragel ki hem atzu levatel hama'asa u'matan shehu b'china regel כמו שכתוב שמח זבולון בצאתך על כן צריך תבקה מסע ומתן וזהו שליש שבפרקת מיה.
Okay, so the first time he mentioned Ashirut was by Sidon. That Hashem's Abraham said, I'm not gonna, you guys don't give me anything to Mel Sidon because my money is kadosh. Okay, That's the third in business that we talked about. Now Rabeinu is going to mention that concept with regard to Sidon again, and he explain how the 3 times Ashirut are mentioned are going to be connected to the 3 times of the 3 types of wealth mentioned in the Gemara, right? So now he's going to explain how and how they connect to each other. Mm-hmm. The third in business, that a person does with his merchandise, is corresponding to the wealth that is mentioned with regard to Sidon, because by Sidon it says Hanishkachim mini ragel, that those who are on feet should forget me. I think. How did it translate over there? Hanishkachim mini ragel.
Where is it? They are forgotten by the wayfarer.
Yeah, exactly. By the people who are doing travel. Yeah, the wayfarer, the person who's traveling by, needs to essentially forget Sidon because they're not allowed in. They can't use that country anymore to pass by. So they have no help on the outside. Sidon was a place of they were extremely cheap in their sense. They did not, even Lot, we know the story with Lot, that was the Midrash that said that Lot went by to the neighbor to go get salt and this and that, and why Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt was because she essentially did Lashon Hara on Lot to Sidon for the fact that he went to go get salt from the neighbor and borrow things. Because there was no borrowing, there was no lending in Sidon.
So it's funny you said, I was just learning Rambam, and there's this thing called Midat Stone.
Midat Stone?
Yeah, people wouldn't give you things just to borrow. They called it
Here you
stone.
see. Yeah. It's exactly the same now. Yeah. There's no concept of being what do you call it? Good, being open-handed.
Yeah.
There's none of this concept. So Hanishkachim mini ragel, that those who are traveling by could not pass by Sidon. So that they should not, essentially so that they wouldn't lack money, right? They wanted to completely abolish business. Meaning what? The business with the people that were traveling by. Because the people traveling by would bring some product, they would give, and then would get something in return that they would need. That's the idea of business that Rabeinu was mentioning. That Sidon did not do business with anyone on the outside. They didn't do business.
Why not?
I guess they wanted to keep it in. They didn't want to lack money. They didn't want to trade different things. They just wanted their money and they kept whatever they got. There was nothing there. And what is business? It's a concept of regel, the feet. Why? And at a deeper level, the money also has to do with the feet, netzach and hod, which we talked about last time. What do you call it? We talked about that pasuk. I forget which pasuk it was. Rabeinu brought it down, but essentially it's saying that money is considered that which makes you stand, because without money you cannot essentially survive. The Gemara breaks that down. So, what's the idea of the feet? That it says, "Semach zevulun betzetecha." Happy is zevulun, you're going out. This is one of the brachot that is given to zevulun. Essentially, this is one of the praises of Zevulun, that they are happy and they're going out. What is their going out? Their business dealings. They would provide for Yisachar, which is the other brother, the people studying the Torah, who are in the Bechin of Hidbonenut, we started the lesson with, because Yisachar is Chamor Garem, Atirin B'Nichsei, I think they were wealthy in possessions, essentially. I think it's this Inyan, that they were wealthy in possession, they had lots of money, but all their Ashirut was in their Torah, meaning they got their Ashirut through their Torah. Or they use their ashirut to get to the Torah. They use that ashirut to be able to attain the Yidbonenut in the Torah. So that's Yisachar studying Torah, and Zevulun provides for Yisachar, and they're happy and they're going out. Happy is Zevulun betzetecha, and they're going out. How do you go out? With your feet. Halicha, the concept of walking. Alken, therefore, therefore, a person specifically needs that the ashirut specifically needs to come by way of masal matan with faith, business dealing with faith, in order to repair the concept of the feet. And this is the third in business. Okay? Rabeinu covers shlish shebifrak matya with regard to Sodom. Second thing, we're going to see in the ground. What does that mean? So, ushlish.
Ushlish שקרקע הוא כנגד העשירות שנזכר אצל רחל ולאה, כי באמת עיקר העשירות הוא רק בשביל ההתבוננות, אבל בלא זה, העשירות הוא רק בשביל נשים וקטני הדעת כמותן, וזה הוא שאמרו, כי הכל העושר אשר הציע אלוקים מאבינו לנו הוא ולבבינו, היינו שכל העשירות הוא רק בשביל נשים וקטני הדעת כמונו, אבל ואתה כל אשר אמר אליך אלוהים עשה, דהיינו שאתה צריך לעשירות בשביל התבוננות בגדולת השם, וכנגד זה הוא בחינת שליש שבקרקע בחינה.
Exactly. So, second thing is the third that needs to be put in the ground. Now, corresponding to this is the wealth that we mentioned earlier, which is with regard to Rachel and Leah. That's the second time wealth was mentioned. So the first is Sodom with regard to what? Masal matan be'emunah. That a person needs to go out to doing his business dealings with faith. To go draw your yira into your business. The second thing is your yira needs to be drawn within the ground, which is the bechin of Isha Yirat Hashem, the woman that fears Hashem, giving the money for the wife, all these things. Okay? So now with regard to Rachel and Leah, we're going to see the connection with the third in the ground. Which is the second time Ashirut is mentioned in the Torah. Because the truth is, Ikar Ashirut, the main way a person, the essential holy wealth, the main way a person earns holy wealth, the main aspect of holy wealth, it's only for the sake of Yidbonenut. This is the only reason why a person should have Ashirut. Or the main way a person attains Ashirut to be Kedusha is if he only uses that money for Yidbonenut. What's the exception? For people that have no dat, like younger children, and for women who have less dat, because nashim datan kalot, it's in the Gemara that women's dat is on the lesser side because they don't have the obligation to study Torah. It's not their inyan. They're more on the aspect of emunah. We give the money for them. Why? Because the money that should be used for you when you're going to be using it for yourself, essentially, you're not going to be taking any benefit from it. It's only going to be used to attain greater dat. Whereas, if you essentially, because we have the obligation to constantly study and to attain more dat, we don't need the money. That we should essentially fall into. Where should we give the money? To the women and to the children, because they have the needs of the home, they have all the other things that they need to take care of. So, if it's not for Yidbonenut, the rest goes for the wife and for the children. So, so if it has essentially no mean, if it won't be used as a vehicle for spirituality to bring you to greater perceptions of Torah and Avodat Hashem, The rest should go for the women and for people of less da'at like them, which is like children. Okay? Because they need the gashmiot also. And it's also in their nature. It's not chad v'shalom an insult. It's part of the nature of what they are. They come from the malchut. It's a bechina v'emunah, which is not as strong as that. The man is more on the bechina v'chokhmah, transcending towards that sort of place. This is what the Rachel and Leah told Yaakov, Ki chol ha'osher asher hitzil et Elokim me'avinu, lanu hu levanenu. That all the wealth that God essentially saved from our father is for us and for our children. Meaning what? All the wealth that Yaakov has is now for us, for the shvatim, for the kids, essentially. All the younger kids, all the... Meaning all the wealth that Hashem saved from our father Lavan, they're saying to Yaakov, which is ashirut, which is physical, because Lavan obviously wasn't at a amount of tremendous that he would use it for his avodat Hashem, obviously, is only is only for women, for people of less dat like us. Avarata, meaning you, meaning Hashem, the wealth that Hashem has given you, to you, Yaakov, which is not from our father Lavan, which is ashirut for the sake of attaining spirituality now, because Hashem's giving you wealth to get to the next level of idbonenut. Now, what do they finish off in the pasuk? Now, everything that God tells you, aseh do. Okay? Meaning what? Meaning, all the money Hashem is sending you, everything Hashem is telling you to do is only to be able to attain greater perception than Avodat Hashem. Attain idbonenut in the pathways of the Torah, to attain greater understanding and contemplation in the Torah. Because by Yaakov, the ashirut is like psolet. It's like the scraps, which is why Moshe received his ashirut from the psolet of the luchot, to teach us that the ashirut that he's receiving is the psolet, which essentially, the ashirut itself, the money itself, is psolet for him, in comparison to the Torah, which is something much greater, which is why he was able to bring down the luchot, Moshe Rabeinu, and why he attained wealth through the psolet of the luchot, because the only reason Hashem gave it to him was so that he could bring down new Torah, bring down new chidushim. Same is true for Yaakov. So now Rabeinu is saying that what? On the opposite side of this though, on the opposite side of the, or keneged, corresponding to this wealth that we're mentioning right here, this second sort of wealth, which is the wealth of the karka, which is the ground, which is the gashmiut, is the third that we're mentioning right now, which is the woman, which is the kaka of the world. As we say in the Gemara, Kiddushin, if I'm not mistaken. Sanhedrin, sorry. Sanhedrin, 74b. So, what's these ashirot essentially? And finish off, you could do the last one before.
ושליש בידו הוא כנגד העשירות, שאיתו שקלים שנאמר שם, כפר על נפשותיכם בחינה אשר בידו נפש כל חי ורוח כל בשר איש.
So the third in the hand, who connected Hashirut, She'etzel Shkalim, is corresponding to the wealth that is mentioned in the Torah with regard to the Shkalim, to the Bechin of Tzedakah, Machatzit Shekel that we mentioned over there. That each and every person needs to give something from himself. The time of the Beit HaMikdash is fulfilled. He needs to give from himself, essentially. The Machatzit Shekel. As it says over there in Sefer Shemot, chapter 30, Lechaper al nafshotachem, to atone for your souls. That through this ashirut you mechaper al nefesh, she'al yidei ashirut mechaper al nefesh b'tzedakah. So how do you essentially repair your soul through this wealth? By giving tzedakah. It says in the pasuk, asher be'ado v'nefesh kol chai v'ruach kol besar ish. That in his hand he possesses the nefesh kol chai, the soul of all living man, and the spirit of all flesh of man. What does that mean? The nefesh corresponds to the hand. As we talked about earlier, all these ideas that the ruach, the nefesh is in the hand, but here Rabeinu is saying, asher be'ado nefesh kol chai. The nefesh, which is a bechin of malchut, which is also money, because money is always drawn from malchut, which is the nefesh, the lowest aspect of the soul. So, asher be'ado nefesh kol chai, the soul of all man is in his hand, and the spirit of all flesh of man. So what is this idea? What's it mentioning? That Ashirut Yidusha, holy wealth, which is hinted in the mitzvah of Shkalim, which we were just talking about right now, is the mitzvah of tzedakah. This is the third concept here, which is the concept of the hand. Because how do you give tzedakah? With your hand. And this is why it's connected to the third that you should keep in your hand. Shlish biyado. So we say the 3 times mentioned in the Gemara, the wealth. 1, in your business. The second, in the ground, which is reference to the woman. So the first one being business is doing business dealing with faith, which is the opposite of Sidon, which is why it says Ashirut by Sidon, to teach us that you have to find Ashirut Yidusha, not draw from the Ashirut of the Sidon Chadashon. Second thing, it says, with regard to Rachel and Leah, which is the concept of Karka Olam, the woman is the ground of the world, property of the world, which means what? This bechina of using your money, if not for Hidbon, to give it to your wife. That's the third thing. And the second thing. And the third thing is with regard to mitzvah tzedakah, which is with machatz shekel. And this corresponds to the hand, which is why it references the third, that a person should guard his money in his hand, in his possession. And to understand this, that this wealth is to give lots of tzedakah. By doing so, whenever you essentially give this lots of tzedakah, when you give tzedakah to essentially bring holiness into your ashirut, your wealth, with this you atone all these souls, you atone your soul, and you merit arichut yamim. But how do you do this? You need Yirat Shamayim first, which is the Yira that you need to draw into your Ashirut. So when you give the tzedakah, you'll merit the Arichot Yamim. But what does Rabeinu say in this beginning of this section? That you need to draw Yirah to the 3 aspects of your wealth. You need to draw Yirah in your Masa Matan, your business, to do business dealing with faith, to have Yirat Shamayim when you do your business. Second thing is with regard to the woman, that you shouldn't be using it for your own toilet, your own benefit of gashmiut and all these things. You should be using it for your wife, and if not, to attain avodat Hashem. And the third in your tzedakah, that you should have fear in your money, meaning that you shouldn't be selfish. You have to give with chavat halev, with an expanded heart. When you do draw your yir'an to all these 3 aspects of your ashirut, then you're able to attain arichut yamim. So that's what Rabeinu was saying, that the yir'an needs to be spread to all these divisions of your wealth. Let's see if there's something here. No. And by the way, this is connected. Let's see. No, so yeah, we're gonna see here how it connects to giving birth to children, and how a woman who struggled to give birth, or a woman who struggled to have children, this is all connected to each other. So, what did we just explain? That the perfection of fear is in 3 categories we talked about earlier. The first category is fear of heaven. That the teacher, that the tzaddik has of Hashem Yitbarach, that he has such a tremendous fear of Yirat, such a tremendous Yirat HaRomimut, fear of God's exaltedness. The second thing is the fear the student has of the teacher. And the third thing is this fear the child has of his father and his mother, right? And through this you merit Ashirut Yitusha. That the tachlit is to do what? What's the tachlit of Ashirut? We talked about earlier, the beginning, the Hidbonenut, to attain true, deep contemplation in the pathways of the Torah, deep perceptions of the Torah. So now Rabeinu is going to explain how these 3 aspects of the revelation of fear. Now Rabeinu is going to explain 3 aspects of how fear is revealed. Which is through the Rav, through the Talmidim, and through the children. Now Rabeinu is going to speak about the children now. Why? To give essentially Pikidut HaKarot, which is the idea of giving special providence to barren women. So now Rabeinu is going to tackle all these 3. We talked about the 3 aspects of fear, right? Yeah. The teacher who has fear of Hashem, which we're going to talk about right now, is how the Rav enters the Tikkun Atik, the rectifications of Atik, which is the Keter we're talking about, which is the idea of Sipur Masiot, which we're going to get to soon. The second thing is that how the Talmidim have fear of their Rebbe. So what is the Talmidim? How they should be woken up from their sleep. And how do the tzaddik do that? Through the Sipur Masiot. So the Talmidim, you need to wake them up from their sleep. And the third thing is to essentially be able to give this dat to the children, yirah to the children, which is the idea of Pekidat HaKarot.
What does that mean?
Opening up the barrenness of a woman. Okay. It's a special providence for barren women. Essentially how the tzaddik is able to accomplish this tikkun, to have a special koach that Hashem gives him, to give a baracha, to do something to be able to open up the womb of a woman, which is tremendous. How Rabeinu is going to explain all this now. Do you have any ideas how it's connected? Because there's so many elements to it.
There's so many moving things right now.
Yeah.
I'm like surprised that he's like, this is like, where's this even coming from? It's
Yeah.
coming from like, I can't even imagine how this is.
Yeah, it's very deep. It's very deep. By the way, because this is all big stuff, because we talked about Rachel, we talked about Al-Raman as well, all this stuff. We're going to see now, because it's very deep, how Hashem opened up essentially the womb for Sarah and Rivka. Because the truth is, they had no ability to give children at all. Like literally at all, they had no ability. They had no, meaning they had no body part that was capable of giving children. They were completely rid of that body part. Until, through the tefillot of Avraham and Yitzhak, Hashem granted them that inyan, that ability to give birth, which is an unbelievable thing. And the tzaddikim have this ability to, because the Midrash says they were literally not capable of having children. It wasn't like it was blocked or this or that. They weren't capable at all. So they really changed the nature of it, and how this is all connected, we're going to see essentially here, because it's very, very deep. It's very deep. It goes very far. I'm trying to see if there's something here that could sum it up very nicely. Let's see the Me'anacha. He brings it down here. We say that holy wealth is divided into 3 pillars. The first, when you do business with your wealth in faith. When you do business with your wealth in faith, which is the third in your business dealings, and not like the Anshe Sedom. That they wanted to completely nullify business dealings with faith, as we saw. They want to do business with passerby, wayfarers, and all this stuff. The second, that through your ashirut, that you should merit hitbonanut in Torah, and know that without hitbonanut in Torah, the rest of the money should go where? To the wife and to the kids, which is the karka olam, which is the ground, which is why a person should guard his money. A third in the ground, and this is why it says shlish shebekarka. The third, that through your wealth you should merit to give lot of tzedakah, to atone for your soul and the souls that are dependent on you, or to atone for your soul, which is dependent on the hand of Hashem, as we talked about earlier. In Hashem's hand, He has the souls of man, and He possesses the spirits of all living flesh. This idea that what? That Hashem's hand possesses the nefesh. So where do you need to put your koach? In the hand of your business, which is what? The bechina of your yad, which is tzedakah. So look how he sums it up. For all of this, a person only merits to do this. Now he's summing up the inyan of Rabeinu perfectly. All these 3 aspects of business, that's where we should go for, we should strive for. The third in business, we should do business be'emunah, in faith. Keeping our word, even if we'll lose money. Meaning things like this that are following the laws of Choshen Mishpat and Shulchan Aruch, not charging interest to a Jew, this, that. All the nuances of business, we have to be very good. Paying our workers before sunset, like the way the Arizal used to, you know what I mean? All these things, business dealing with faith. Tough. Second thing, we talked about third in Shebekaka, your ground, in the ground, which is the woman. Don't be cheap on your wife. Give her the things she needs. Don't be cheap on your children. Minimize your own desire for your own things, this, that, and give her your wife. Unless it's for hitbonanut, which means sometimes you need to buy a suit for Shabbat Kodesh, which is a bechina hitbonanut. Lechabed Shabbat bichsut naki, with the proper clothing, clean clothing. So these are things for ashirut. Aside from that, only be used for the women and the children. Your wife wants to go out for lunch, women and children. No. This. Other than that, it should only be used for ashirut, which is, or for hitbonanut, which is like to give tzedakah, to do holy acts. The third thing, that with your wealth, you should merit to give tzedakah, like we talked about. Nice, which is the hand. So, how do you merit to do all these 3 things? Through yirah. Meaning through when you have yirah, when you draw yirah into the 3 categories of your work, to the 3 categories of your wealth. You merit to do business with faith. And then through yirah, you'll merit to understand that the ashirut that you're receiving, the wealth you're receiving, is for hitbonanut only and not for yourself, for your wife and for your kids. And then, through your yirah, you'll merit to give tzedakah from your ashirut, because your yirat shamayim is constantly putting you in check, saying, no, what's the money for? Like Rabeinu says, when you go out to business, your sole kavana should be b'machshava dibur u'maaseh, that I'm giving tzedakah. From the second you wake up to the second you go to bed, whatever business you do, you have to have the kavana that everything I'm doing, It's a high madriga, but he says the main thing is that when you go to work, whatever you're doing, you should always have in your pnimiyut machshava that you should be thinking about how I'm going to give tzedakah out of the money I earn, which is a tremendous thing. It's really not for you. So you merit to give tzedakah from your wealth, lots of tzedakah to atone for your soul, which is dependent or which is included within the hand of Hashem Yitbarach.
I was thinking about tzedakah last night. It's actually the craziest concept. It's money, it's not yours, right? So Hashem's giving you something that's not yours. Now Hashem's saying, okay, now go give it to tzedakah. So you give it to tzedakah. So what are you getting? You're getting a mitzvah. So you're getting an opportunity to come closer to Hashem. Plus Hashem promises you, like double the amount?
Yeah.
So it's like you're getting something that doesn't even belong to you. You then get to come closer to Hashem, and then you get double of what
It's amazing.
It's like it's the craziest mitzvah ever.
You're right. But when you look at it like that from a place of sechel and dat of Torah, you understand that the mitzvah of tzedakah is so big.
Yeah.
It says, yoter ma she'abayit oseh ma'ani, ani oseh mi'bal habayit. I think the Gemara says something like this. Bigger than what the Bal habayit is doing with the ani is doing more for the Bal habayit.
For sure.
Because the ani is giving the Bal habayit the opportunity to give tzedakah, which is much bigger than what?
Than you giving it.
Than you giving it.
Yeah.
Now because of course, the world, the Yetzer Hara is so strong that Rabbi Natan says most people lose their olam haba simply because of Tavat Mamon. And he says you can speak to anyone about Avodat Hashem. You can really speak to anyone about Yirat Shamayim and to draw someone close, unless they are too drawn into the inyan of Tavat Mamon. Rabbi Natan says in Likutei Moharan, it's impossible to speak to him about Yirat Shamayim. Because when you're so involved in your money and you're so dependent on money that there's nothing you can do without it, that you desire so much money, that you really have desire, you run after wealth, it's greed, it's impossible to wake you up from your sleep.
What, because you just give up on them and that's it?
No, because it's so obviously you have to pray, you have to do a lot of things, but he's saying your diburim won't help because they're so entrenched in their desire for the world. It's one thing to speak about the desire for sexual morality and stuff like that. One day it's going to knock into your head. One moment it's going to knock into your head because not everyone, every single second has this desire, you know? Or the inyan of food, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That food, we're going to speak about in this Torah, how food makes you fall away from the 70 facets of the Torah, which puts you into a spiritual coma, a spiritual sleep. We're going to speak about it. And how Sipur HaMasiot is able to wake you up from the 70 facets of the Torah, even if you fall into the 50th gate of Tumah, which is lower than Egypt, which we are in right now. Sipur HaMasiot is the only thing that you can wake you up because it gives you the Shivim Panim Torah within the story. So no matter which facet you fell off, you get all of them. It's an immediate energy charge of spiritual abundance and shefa and ruchaniyut that wakes you up from your sleep and makes you recognize who you are. Tremendous. Yeah. But Tavat Mamon, Rabbi Natan says, your word won't have benefit because he's so entrenched in desire for money, he will never stop. Imagine trying to speak to someone saying, who's so after money, greed and kavod and everything that is associated with money. Imagine trying to tell him, Achi, have you heard of giving lots of tzedakah, Achi, passing the bechina of maser, forget if they even do maser, passing the bechina of maser to give chomesh, or to understand that the money didn't even belong to you. When you're so in Tavat Mamon, what's the problem with Tavat Mamon is that you believe that everything is according to your Maaseh Yadav, it's your hands. Yeah. But you forgot that Hashem is the one doing it for you, and this is just the illusion of today's world. Mm-hmm. This is Esav. Today Esav is fighting here in the Yadayim. Why? Because it's very difficult to see in the nature of the world how Hashem is the one providing when you have to go to work, when you have to do this stuff. Yeah. So what do we believe as a Jew? We go to work only to repair to essentially to distract us from sin. Yeah. One, literally distract us from sin, so as we're not bored, because being bored, or what do you call it, like being lazy and all this stuff, is the greatest way to fall into sin. So we go to work, so that you distracts you from falling into Avirot. But the danger with work is that you can forget Hashem Yitbarach. It is the easiest way to forget God, because you will work overtime, you will work this, you will work that, because you do not see how Hashem can provide for you within the realm of nature. This is why the Talmidei Chachamim, when I say Talmidei Chachamim, I'm saying real tzaddikim, are on the Bechina Shabbat Kodesh, that they have complete emunah that their parnassah is drawn from Hashem. Whether they stay at home, whether they go to this place or that place, they know their parnassah is coming, and they're happy with what they get. The issue is people aren't happy with what they get, and they lack emunah, which is one in the same category. They lack emunah, they lack trust in Hashem.
Yeah.
They lack faith in God, that Hashem is the one providing. But it says so many times in the Torah, you shall remember Hashem Yibach. Literally just remember Him, because it's He who gives you the ability to merit wealth. He gives you the strength to attain money. Imagine trying to tell that to a rich person who's so entrenched in his desire for money that everything he thinks he earned was from his own hand. Impossible. Because what you're telling him is you're saying, nothing is you.
Yeah.
That's what Tavat Mammon is. It's the ultimate greed and gava in the world. To think that it's only you. And that's all your work and all your effort. And it's difficult because you see in the world, the more effort you put, the more this and that, the more you can come out with the thing. But the truth is, it's Hashem is really in every single part. He's part and parcel of every single process, every single thought, every single thing that leads you to the place where you get the money. And even in the place where you get the money, He can give it to you, He cannot give it to you. There's so many things, there's so many variables. It's all Hashem. The hard part is that we literally have clouds covering the eyes, that we cannot see Hashem Yitbarach in this world. Because there's such a good realm of nature that the Yetzer Hara is trying to convince us that it's only nature providing for us. Meaning, you do what you need to do, but the Jewish people, they're under the realm of Mazarot. When it's the exact opposite. Through our emunah, we rise above the Mazarot. Which is why the money we spend on Shabbat Kodesh, Yamim Tovim, or on Rosh Chodesh, the Shulchan Aruch says, that these things, they come back to us. They're not part of the money, the Parnassah that Hashem deemed for us. You can spend as much money as you want on Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, Yamim Tovim, we'll get the money back. Because the tzedakah, you're going to get money back. It's contradictory, like you just mentioned. Maaser, we say asher to asher, like aser to asher, give 10%, you'll get wealthy in return, as the Chachamim say. There's so many different things, you know what I mean, that go contrary to the nature of the world. But a person who's in Tavat Mammon, he refuses to believe that because he thinks everything is by his own hand. So that's the danger. Mm-hmm. When you don't draw Yirat Shamayim into your business, into your money, you're lost. You will have no one who will be able to speak to you to return you back to the pathway of Torah. You need a tremendous amount of rachamim from Hashem and tefillot and koach from the tzaddik ha'emet to wake you up from your sleep, because that is the ultimate sleep. Mm-hmm. Which is why Rabeinu says, yes, sexual immorality might be the main desire. Ikara deitra bisha hi ala rayin. Ala rayin, the Gemara says, the main Yetzer Hara today is on immorality, promiscuity, debauchery, whatever it is. But Rabeinu says the greatest tava of all, the most dangerous one that can lose his world in this world and the next, is Tavat Mammon.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, because that's what it is. That's the test today. You go to work, but will I stop work? Even though it seems like I'm going to lose money, will I stop work and go pray mincha? Will I stop work and go study Torah a little bit? Will I try to wake up chatzot? Will I try to, you know what I mean? Read a Tikkun HaKlali, steal 7 minutes during the day to read Tikkun HaKlali? Or like small things. Will I be honest with the person I just said I'm going to do, even though I'm going to lose money now? There's so many things that go involved, and this is just, I just mentioned one example, 2 examples. There's millions upon millions of examples every single day that everybody goes through. That makes it extremely difficult because, okay, after work, provide for my wife and kids. I need to spend time with my wife and kids. I need to sleep. I need to eat. There's so many things that it's already so difficult to serve Hashem Yitbarach. When you go to work, it's the biggest mask in the world to cover your eyes from seeing God. Yeah. But when you go with the kavanah to get tzedakah, or when you go with the kavanah to do masah matan be'emunah, or that the money you're going to use is going to be for avodat Hashem or yitbonenut, and whatever I don't use is going to be for my wife and kids, which is also going to give me yitbonenut also, that's a different thing. That's drawing Yirat Shamayim into your business, into your work, into your money. Every single dollar you earn now is done with the kedusha. Bechol derachecha da'ehu. In all your ways you shall know Him. That's literally the proof pasuk as to why we go out to work today. Because you can know Hashem Yitbarach through your work. But the klipa is so strong there. Mm-hmm. That's why Rabeinu says you have to be extra careful with your money. You have to guard your money, he said in Sichot Haran, like the eye in your socket.
I love what you said last time. It's like, you said like, or you said in the name of the Rebbe, like, you really have to like, you're taking time away from learning Torah and doing mitzvot. Guard that money. Like, you took away, like, don't waste it.
Yeah.
Because, or else you just wasted your time and you wasted the money.
Exactly.
I love it. I really like that.
It's true, because the surface level, we should all be engaged in Torah and mitzvot all day.
Yeah.
But
Hashem set it up in a way.
yeah, because we're, you know what I mean? We're lacking on emunah thing. So what does Hashem do? He gives us the ability to go earn the money, this and that. And the more we draw Yirat Shamayim into our work, the more we draw Yirat Shamayim and we're with Hashem Yitbarach in the business that we do, Hashem will slowly wean us off the need for nature and slowly bring us into the realm of emunah. Which is why a lot of times we go through nisyonot and tests with regard to parnasah. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, to increase our emunah, to get to the next madriga b'itbonanut, so that you will need to work less with your hands and more with your mouth, your tefillah.
Yeah.
So Hashem gives us ample opportunities to push the boundary of nature, put it down, and increase our realm of emunah and bitachon in Hashem Yitbarach. Because the Rabeinu says the kli to accept the shefa is all bitachon. With my eyes, I hope in Hashem. The eyes are a kli of our vessel used to use bound in time and space. Close my eyes, it's infinite. The eyes are, I see you, you stop right there. I see the wall, it stops right there. I cannot look past. I cannot look past that mountain because there's nothing there. I can only see as far as in the street as I can. The eye is a kli, it's a gvul. So there's boundaries. What, depending on your eyes, meaning how much you hope in Hashem Yitbarach, will determine how big the kli is to accept the shefa.
Yeah.
So it's all bitachon. In its time. Why in its time? Because time has to do with the kli that you just build, with the eyes. It's all dependent on the kli and the gvul that you build, the boundaries that you build through your bitachon in Hashem. So Hashem is slowly testing us and things like that. And we think it's a curse sometimes. Why it's difficult to earn a parnasah, why we have to struggle at work, why sometimes our employee does the stupidest thing in the world and you want to smack him across the head. And it's really, the truth is, it's all Hashem.
Yeah.
To increase your emunah, your bitachon in Hashem Yitbarach, so that the shefa now is bigger, so that you're happier with less, so that you attain more simcha, that the money you're going to earn now, you're going to eat your bread with simcha. It's like the Tam in the story, the wise and the simpleton, the wise man and the simpleton, in the story of Sipur Amasya, this 9th story. How the simpleton, when he earns his money, he tastes all the foods in his bread. It's a bechin of man, because he has da'at to know that it comes from Hashem Yitbarach. And with the little bit that he earns, even the same food that he keeps trying over 1,000 times over, it tastes for him like lentils, it tastes for him like meat, it tastes for him like thing. When it's the same bowl 1,000 different times. Because his parnasah is with simcha. He'll make the shoe will absolutely suck. It has 3 corners of a shoe. He'll earn half the price what everyone of his competitors do. And when his wife brings up that question, why do you earn half the amount that everyone else earns? If you know what I mean, if you're making a proper shoe that you're selling. And he says, that's his story, that's my story. That's a person who walks with Hashem Yitbarach. Doesn't question why someone else has 10 times more, why you have 10 times less. And why your work might even suck more. And you're like, I still profit this amount. It's good. Hashem Yitbarach, give me what I need.
Yeah.
That's a person who walks with Hashem Yitbarach. But a person who's chacham, a person who's constantly sophisticated in the realm of thinking that he needs to do this and do this and do this and do this, and doesn't leave place for Hashem, there's no place for him to wake up. Because that's where the nisayon is today. How much are you going to be greedy or fall into tavat mammon to believe? Just to believe, because it's difficult to act on it, right? To act on the fact that Hashem can provide to you with ease, right? With complete emunah, that you believe that Hashem will give it to you with ease. We have to believe it. Acting on it's a different thing.
Yeah.
Rabeinu says in lesson 23, what's tavat mammon? When you don't believe that Hashem can give you parnasah b'siba kala, with ease. So, when you don't believe that, now we believe to a certain extent. We just go to work and this and that. And our tavat mammon is somewhere. We still have tavat mammon. We all fall into tavat mammon until we break it with our cries. We scream out to Hashem. 140 cries. And when we merit those 140 cries, then we merit true parnasah, shirut kedusha, simcha, and our parnasah, our work, this, that. So we have to constantly cry, beg Hashem in our work. These are all small yanim that aren't, you know what I mean? We're talking about ashirut and the kafka and the third business, the ground, the hand. But what it's really referencing here is Rabeinu saying, use your yirat shamayim and put it in your business, in your money. Because that's where you're going to spend most of your time anyways, right? Mm-hmm. People like us especially. We're going to go to work, we're going to do things. When we're not studying Torah all day.
Yeah.
So where must you put all your emunah and your yirah? In the money that you're earning. And that's what's going to determine everything else, your arichut yamim, your length of days. Hashem will slowly take you off of the money, take you off of the need to go to work so much. You'll be able to stop, pause in the afternoon to study 2 hours of Torah, an hour and a half of Torah, and be able to serve Hashem within that place. Then you'll go back to work and this and that. And Hashem will slowly take you off, give you less need to go earn this or that. Whatever the circumstances are, it will always change. Yeah. But Hashem is the master of doing that. We just need to draw our memory and to remember what we're doing when we go to work and all this stuff. Draw yirat shamayim into that place. I think when we do that, we'll really be successful in serving Hashem in every single place. That's the main thing. So what we were talking about, how Rabbi Natan says, person who's completely in the tava for mammon, you cannot speak to him about yirat shamayim. Because he cannot even, you cannot even convince him that his world is wrong. That he's living in a fallacy. It's impossible. Yeah. Because he lives by it, he breathes by it, that's all he does. And you see a tremendous amount of wealthy people today. Very difficult to be extremely wealthy and to be a real Jew. A lot of the wealthy people today, unfortunately, most part of them, they have fallen completely into Tavat Mammon. And to Gava and to this and that, you cannot speak to them about Yirat Shamayim. They think it's all their Maaseh Yadav. Rarely do you find someone extremely wealthy that's extremely humble. It's extremely rare. The test of having money is much bigger than not having it. Yeah. And that's where we need to put our emunah. That in the money we have, we draw emunah and Yirat Shamayim into every single penny. That's it. To give lots of tzedakah, destroy your desire for monetary gain. What does Rabeinu say in Sefer Amidot? One who soneh avetza, one who hates monetary gain, profit, merits arichut yamim. It's literally this. Yeah. You hate profit. You don't want $1. There's a story. One of the people I really listen to on YouTube, maybe the only guy. His name is Nathan Luzon. He's an incredible individual. Bessever from Bet Shemesh, French guy. His father was French and everything. And he's speaking about the Sinyan of Rabbi Israel, like Saba, who always used to tell all the students.
Rabbi Israel.
Rabbi Israel Dovadeser, the one who got the Petek and everything. Okay. He was telling all these students and stuff like that, like, nobody wake up. Because all the French people that came close to him, they were all in business and this and that. And he slowly weaned them off of it, like, serve Hashem, Avodat Hashem, go do it, Chatzot, to wake people up like that, especially people that, like, you know what I mean? We you know what I mean? We know ourselves, we know the Americans. The French people, they have their own chokhmah and their own tavot. Like,
in France is like...
it's a tremendous thing.
It's such a klipa, France.
It's a huge klipa, which is why a tremendous amount... Gava, Tabat Niyuf, they're known for Tabat Niyuf. Yeah. There's all these inyanim. Like, I think... When they came to Rabbi Israel and said, why is it that so many French people draw close to Rabeinu? Because you see Uman today, it's a real thing. Look how many people travel from Paris, from Lyon, from Marseille, from all these places in France. So many people. Uman, you literally hear French all over the place. Mm-hmm. So what's this idea? They're simple in their way, but extremely damaged. They're extremely broken. So Rabeinu was able to tap into people like that. Yeah. But they have a chokhmah in a sense. The French people, they have a tremendous amount of sophistication in their French culture. They take tremendous pride in that. You know what I mean? They have tremendous amount. It's almost like it's an arrogance in a sense. It's a French arrogance.
Oh my God. Sorry,
I'm
talking about the Goyim French. So
but even it bleeds into the Jews also. We're not. You know what I mean? I'm saying that because I also come from French background. You know what I mean? Like we know what it is. And Rabeinu spoke about this. Lesson 60 is actually on this idea that Tzarfati HaMeshuga, on the French crazy man. Why is he the French crazy man? Because he's dried up all the moisture of his body, which we talked about a couple sections ago. Mm-hmm. He dried up all the moisture of his body through his sexual morality, his sexual fire. He can't contain that fire. So what happens? The fire of the heart burns up all the moisture of the body, which doesn't give enough fuel to go up to the brain, which doesn't give your brain enough ability to light up and to eat bonenut. So what ends up happening now is, why does Rabeinu say in Sipur HaMasiot, Tzarfati HaMeshuga, the French crazy man? Because the French in their root, their ta'ava klali and ta'ava niyuv, specifically them. Meaning every single nation has the ta'ava niyuv. It's a universal ta'ava. But the French are the main klipa for that ta'ava. The city of love, the this, the that. Yeah. It's a broken place, which is why a lot of the Bessel will speak about how the Geulah will stem from France. Why you see so many people going to Uman from France and this and that. Even at just at Chabad level, you see people, you know what I mean? So many French people going to Chabad, Chassidut. You're trying to understand why all these, why France, why Rashi had to use French words in the Torah. Because France has a specific inyan with this. Which is why Kesef Nivchar, Leshon Tzadik, we're going to speak about the choice. Silver is the tongue of the Tzadik. And how Rabeinu ties it into lesson 60 is a Safet Tevot franc, the French currency. Because it also bleeds into Ta'avat Mamon. It's all under the same thing. Rabeinu is giving a Torah on France right now, which we don't even realize. But how France, Rabeinu met with Napoleon, there's an entire story, a secret story. All these inyanim that are very connected, why Rabeinu has a specific association with the French people. Because the Tzaddik HaEmet needs to repair them. In their Tavat Mamona, in their Tavat Niyuv, in all the Tavat Achila too, you name all of them, they have it. Kavod, Gava, this, that. So you see all this, how it ties together. And when, so we were talking about Rabbi Israel, when he was with the French people, he was telling them, wake up, like, Avodat Hashem, Chatzot, Yitbodedu, Likutei Tfilot. But you see so many, like, Nathan Ozon, his father was French, he did Aliyah. And it was funny because in his class, he's always speaking about like the French people in like a joking fashion, but he comes from there and he's saying like, look how damaged we are. You know what I mean? It's tremendous to see how far they've come. In the Inyan Rabeinu, how you see, I see people, French people, Uman, Peot, the beard, this, that. You see a lot of the people we stay with in our program, French, you know what I mean? Chassidim and Mea She'arim, like how things turn. Yeah. How the tzaddik is able to wake people up from the biggest klipa, and they're stuck in there, but the tzaddik's able to do it because only he can go down to a place that far and wake someone up. Which is why a person who's stuck in this tava, mamon, or this, that, which is very almost impossible to wake them up, give them sipur masiyot, speak to them about diburim of Rabeinu HaKadosh, because there's no other way to do it. It's not possible from their yeush in a sense. It doesn't exist, but from their place of klipa, Rabeinu HaKadosh, Rabbi Nachman, the tzaddik Yesod Olam, in general, this concept of the true tzaddik is only able to wake these people up, or people who are stuck in the Tavat Mamon. Speak about us, the Americans. What are we better? This is literally the city. We call it New York, the city of money, the city that never sleeps. Everyone running after Tavat Mamon. The U.S., everyone with their big homes, their nice cars, their this, that. Everything's all a big illusion. Edom, it's literally Edom. The U.S. is Edom.
100%.
Tavat Mamon. Yeah. We also have other Tavot and stuff like that, but Tavat Mamon. Yeah. So we really have a lot of work to do in this sense, to draw Yirat Shamayim and Tetein Hashem Kedusha, you know. So I don't know where I was. I know Nathan Uzon. There was something with Nathan Uzon that was gonna mention. I totally forgot. But with Rabbi Yisrael and stuff like that. But no, it's funny. Yeah, it's a common theme. It's a common theme. Mm-hmm. So you want to continue a little bit, or let's go.
Let's do a little bit. V'hitgalut ha'yira hu al yedei pekidut akarot ki al yedei leda nitgale yira bechinat ha'adam aksatam sham chil k'yoleda ki al yedei leda yotzin damim gvorot shem bechinat yira u'vifrat shenifkada akara shahayu adamim הגבורות נעצרים כל כך עד עתה על כן אחר כך כשיוצאים נגלה והראייה ביותר.
Okay. The revelation of fear now, Rabeinu is going to speak about how Yira'ah is revealed, is through Pekidut HaKarot. When the barren women are, essentially their womb opens up and they're able to have children. So now when the barren woman becomes pregnant and she gives birth, Yirat Shamayim is revealed in the world. What's the reason? Because through the birth of the child, we see that fear is literally drawn and revealed. So what is this idea? I think that the trembling was held. How did it translate?
Trembling ceased from
there?
Yeah.
Like the pangs from birth?
Pangs like a woman giving birth.
Like a woman giving birth. Okay, tough. Now what's this re'ada, the trembling, the seizing, the yir'ah, comes from there. When the woman gives birth. Rabeinu will bring this pasuk to explain how yir'ah now, a new yir'ah is present when a woman gives birth. Like the pain from a woman giving birth, that the fear is, or the trembling is seized from there. From which place? When the woman gives birth. When the woman gives birth to a child, Yirat Shamayim, there's a special Yirat Shamayim that is present in that place. Why? Also because the woman's in a place of sakana right now also.
Yeah.
Which is why there's a special Yirat whenever everything goes well and the woman gives birth. Tough. Now the time of the reason, Rabeinu is going to go into the reason in depth. Because when a woman gives birth, with the child now comes what? Blood and all these gvurot that get spilled out. Which is the bechina yira, because yira comes from the left side, hava comes from the right. So all the gvurot, the dam, which is all the left side, the severities and the judgments from the left, come out at the time of birth, which is yira, because the damim in the shoresh comes from the migdal gvura, which is yira in its shoresh. Specifically when a barren woman gives birth, that the gvurot were plugged up all the way up until that point, because it's been so long for the woman to give birth until she got rid of those gvurot and dinim. So Rabeinu is saying that it's been many years where that blood has been plugged up and stopped and clogged up until she gives birth. And then there's the entire point of the pregnancy, which is even more severe. So Rabeinu is saying, we see at a natural level that the charada, the trembling that happens when the woman gives birth to the child is greater, especially whenever a barren woman gives birth. Even more so than someone else. Okay. Therefore, after the damim and the gvurot come out with the child, the yirah is revealed even further. By Pekidut Akarot. And the proof was in that pasuk, you grasp the fear by there. Like the pains of a woman giving birth. Same meaning. That the fear is grasped, that the Yirat Shamayim is present at the time when a woman gives birth to the child. Uchvi
hayireda kain hikalu hayira ki keshenifkada akara achat nikala yira וכדו הרבה עקרות, נקלה הראייה ביותר. זה בחינה חיה כיולדה, כפי היולדה, כי נקלות היראה.
So, according to the birth, Ken Nitgalut Yira will determine the revelation of fear. So, according to how many women who are barren give birth and stuff like that, how many there are in the world, how many the tzaddik is able to affect, will determine how much Yirat Shamayim is brought into the world also.
Wow.
With the child now.
We can't even track that anymore.
Yeah, but the true tzaddik is constantly doing this, which is why Rabeinu. I actually did this once. It's an amazing thing how Rabeinu was able to do this. I gave a sipur masiot to someone that I knew was barren, gave birth within the year.
Wow.
Because the sipur, Rabeinu was going to explain, a sipur masiot from the tzaddik ha'emet is able to give special providence to barren women, which is why the very big segura, if someone knows someone that can't give birth, can't have a child, that can't get pregnant, can't have a child, give them Sipur Masiot and tell them to read it. It's an incredible thing. Tell them to read the story of the Lost Princess, which is actually this Torah is an explanation of the story of the Lost Princess. I have to show you. It's all very deep. So just read Sipur Masiot. Tell them to read Sipur Masiot with a tremendous amount of light. You'll see it's unbelievable. And this has happened many times. I've heard many stories where people have given Sipur Masiot and women who haven't had children for years were able to give birth. Okay, the true tzaddik has the ability to do so, especially through the Sipur Masiot we're going to see. So, now, when one barren woman is able to get pregnant and give birth, fear is revealed, right? When many barren women are able to give birth, all the more so, the fear is revealed even greater, at an even greater level. This is what it says, the pangs of a birthing woman. Meaning, according to how many women give birth who are barren, will determine the yir'ah that is present. Okay. Okay,
בראש השנה היה פקידת יצחק, שהוא תוקף התגלות היראה מאוד, בחינה פקד יצחק, כי שנפקדה שרה נפקדו כמה עקרות עמה כמו שאמרו אבותינו זיכרונם לברכה. וזה בחינה כי ילדת בן לזקוניו כי על ידי לידת יצחק שהוא התעלות היראה על ידי זה נמשך אריכות הימים בחינת סכין כנען בבחינת יראת השם תוסיף ימים כנען.
So, this is why on Rosh Hashanah was the birth of Yitzchak. Because what happened? That on Rosh Hashanah, Hashem remembered Sarah and decreed that she should give birth to Yitzchak. Tov? This is in the Gemara Rosh Hashanah. That Sarah gave birth to Yitzchak. Which is why we read the parasha of Sarah giving birth to Yitzchak on Rosh Hashanah. Gemara Rosh Hashanah.
Oh, wow.
Or Pekidat Yitzchak, sorry. When Sarah got pregnant with Yitzchak was during Rosh Hashanah, I think. Pekidat Yitzchak. Let's see. Pekidat Yitzchak. I think it brings down actually the argument here. No, the birth of Yitzchak happened on Pesach. Yesh le'akshot. This is the question. Wasn't the birth of Yitzchak Avinu on Pesach? Ben Rabbi Eliezer, Ben Rabbi Yoshua. Come about Gemara, Rosh Hashanah. It's brought down in the Gemara Rosh Hashanah. So what's Rabeinu saying here? So let's see. Rabeinu seems to be saying the main revelation of fear comes whenever when the woman's blood comes out during birth. And not at the time whenever she's what do you call it? Not at the time when she's giving birth, which is at the bifkida, at the time whenever she essentially takes in that child, which is at the beginning of the pregnancy. So let's see what it says here. So we're saying that the main thing of Yirat Shamayim is whenever the Gvurot come out when a woman gives birth. So if that's the case, we should say that the revelation of fear happened on Pesach, not Rosh Hashanah, because Sarah gave birth on Pesach.
Okay.
And you're not going by the time whenever she got pregnant, which is Rosh Hashanah, because that's what we say. That the Pekidat Yitzchak, when Sarah became pregnant with Yitzchak was on Rosh Hashanah, as we say in the Gemara. So what's the idea here? The Damim only get, there's a revelation of fear when the Damim come out, which is only on Pesach. So, Ketzer רואים זאת בחוש בפקידת ההכרה, באה יראה בעולם, יד רבה, נראה שבאה שמחה גדולה בעולם. Okay. So what are we going to see? כי בוודאי שאחר הלידה ישנו צחוק ושמחה גדולה בעולם. Because certainly, after the birth, there was tremendous tzchok and simcha in the world. As it's brought down in the Midrash, whenever we call him Yitzchak, obviously, because there was tremendous simcha that came out from it. This is why. The yirah, the essential aspect of yirah, already happened at the time already when she got pregnant with Yitzchak. Why? At the time of the beginning of her pregnancy, which is when the blood begins to gather and not to go out. So what do we see? We see that a woman who's pregnant is filled with anger and judgment. She's always not she's not in a great mood.
Yeah.
So why? All this stuff, right? Okay? That's brought down to the Gemara Brachot. בכל פרשת דיבור. מהי פרשת דיבור? אמר רב חיסדא אמר אמר. ואפילו בשעה שאתה מתמלא עליהם עברה. כאישה וברא יהיו כל צרכיהם לפניך. Okay, עד כאן. So let's see what it says here. הרי, ששעת ההיריון היא שעת דינים מהירה. The time of pregnancy, the time of דינים מהירה. יותר משעת הלידה שבה. יש גם צחוק ושמחה. More than the time of לידה, birth, which there's צחוק and שמחה because you're happy, everything went well, this, that. הממתיקים הדינים, which sweeten the judgment, הרומזים ברוב הדמים המתים בלידה, which are suggested by the amount of blood that come out from the woman at the time she gives birth. So according to this, דווקא ראש השנה, specifically ראש השנה, הוא יום שיש בו את היראה הגדולה ביותר. Why? Why was Rosh Hashanah the time when there's tremendous amount of yirah that's revealed into the world? Because that's a time when the concept of the blood enters, which means everything is gathered in one shot. When the woman takes in Yitzchak, all the blood comes up, the most anger comes up. Hashem's, like, we consider Hashem's anger like a pregnant woman. Keisha ubara, what did it say? Keisha ubara. Even at the time when you are filled with anger against them, like a pregnant woman. Hashem's anger sometimes is considered like a pregnant woman. Meaning what? Anger is like, there's so much dinim, vua, which is why Rosh Hashanah is the time where there's tremendous yirah, because vua is yirah. So, in one shot, Sarah got this charge of tremendous dinim, vuod, on the time of when she got pregnant with Yitzchak, because Yitzchak is Pachad Yitzchak, the fear of Yitzchak, which is Yira again. Yitzchak comes from the side of Gvura, which is Yira again. So there's tremendous amounts of Yira on Rosh Hashanah, aside from the fact that that's when she got pregnant, which is when all the damim are gathered.
Wow.
So, when the damim gather within the woman, now we're not talking about the fact that it goes out. Now we're talking about the fact that all the Yira is gathered into one shot at one time within the woman. Specifically, it happened on Rosh Hashanah, where there's the greatest fear possible. It's Yom Adin. So there's all these things that gathered. This is why it causes a woman to be sometimes angry and stuff like that, because there's so much yirah and ka'as and all this stuff gathered up. So what did it say here? This is why.
I gotta go into.
Huh?
I gotta go into minutes.
Yeah, we're finishing up right now. I'm finishing up the translation. Therefore, on Rosh Hashanah, which is the day of judgment, the midah of Hashem's gvura, was the time when Sarah got pregnant with Yitzchak, which is which is essentially the strong revelation of great fear at that time specifically, because Yitzchak is gvura. All the blood is gathered in it, which is gvura. Rosh Hashanah is gvura. It's all gvura yirah gathered in one shot. It's in the pasuk pachad Yitzchak, the fear of Yitzchak. Yitzchak is the midah of pachad and yirah. He is the concept of yirah. This is why, and now we're going to explain why on Rosh Hashanah there's tremendous yirah. When Sarah was pregnant on Rosh Hashanah, nifkedu kama akarotima. Many barren women who also couldn't give birth became pregnant. The Chachamim say in the Midrash, Bereshit Rabbah, Parashat Nun Gimel over there. So therefore, by the fact that many pregnant women were now able to be, many barren women got pregnant, the Yirah was even revealed even more so. On Rosh Hashanah, the day of Din and Yirah. This is what it says that we mentioned about, that through Yirah, a person merits Zikna and Arechut Yamim, true being a holy out. Like being, like Avam Zaken, Avam was old going into the Yamim, Arechut Yamim. So what did he say that Yirah bring the person to Arechut Yamim? As it says, Bechinat, what Sarah said after she gave birth to Yitzchak, Ki elati ben nizkunah, for I gave birth to a son in my old age. Why? By giving birth to Yitzchak, which is Shewit Galutei Yirah, which is the revelation of fear, which all started on Rosh Hashanah, which is when the fear started gathering in. With this, she was able to draw down on Arechut Yamim, length of days, which is why she said, I gave birth in my old age. By her giving birth, which is the revelation of fear, she brought down the concept of Arechut Yamim, which is, we said earlier, Abraham was old in his days, going into his days, that through Yirah, a person merits the Ar Ktusha, every single day, which is Arechut Yamim. B'fchinat, he said, Yirat Hashem tosif yamim. The fear of Hashem prolongs a person's days, as we mentioned above. So, this is what we saw. That with Pikidat HaKarot, when a barren woman becomes pregnant, when she gives birth, there's a tremendous amount of Yirah that's present. And we see this with Sarah giving birth to Yitzchak, and getting pregnant with Yitzchak on Rosh Hashanah, which is where it all starts, the Yirah starts. So,
it's really Yitzchak like holiday.
Yeah, Rosh Hashanah for sure.
The shofar comes from
Yitzchak also. Everything is Yitzchak. We read it first.
The Sfardi's, you guys do the whole. You guys talk about Akedah.
Yeah, we do. Akedah and Ekad.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
There's so many inyanim with regard to Yitzchak. Yeah. Uman's a little different.
Wait, what do we read on Rosh Hashanah? What's the Torah reading?
We read how Sarah.
This is what we're reading?
Yeah, we read. That's part of it. We read how Sarah became pregnant with Yitzchak. If I'm not mistaken, by the way.
That makes
there's other things you read, but I know this is one of them.
Okay.
So, Baruch Hashem.
Thumbs up?
Yeah.